Performance 8 times a week. So I'm just starting right in on you, Ben. Sorry.
Well, that's a tough beginning, Julie.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, that's an excellent question. I think that it's a combination of things. First of all, we have the most incredible cast on Broadway, in my opinion. And all 7 of the people to my right are incredibly dropped in every single night and very consistent. And I think we all believe very much in this piece and in the story, and we want to give ourselves to it. And so to be surrounded by people that are so dropped in and so sort of honestly giving of themselves makes it very easy to get to the same place every night. And then of course, in a more practical sense, because this is Broadway Con, there's a few sort of physical things obviously to just maintain as far as physical therapy and voice lessons and things to put into place so that the focus doesn't need to be on sort of technically making the sounds 8 times a week and can be really on just telling the story and sort of emotionally arriving 8 times a week. But it's, you know, one day at a time, as it were. We have 2 shows today, so it's gonna be a fun one.
Two-doche today?
It's a two-doche.
Ooh-wee. Well, then extra thanks for being here.
Of course.
So, do you feel spent at the end? Like, does that really take a lot out of you to deliver on that level of emotion?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think that I don't want to give anything away about the show, but it certainly ends in a redemptive place, and so there's a lot of hope, hopefully, that the audience leaves with, and so I think we all really appreciate that we don't leave sort of all the way down in the dumps, and we kind of leave with this sort of positive message, and I think that's really helpful in being the people that are telling the story 8 times a week, that at least we can always sort of end on a higher note.
Yeah.
But of course there are days where it's a little tougher to shake off, or physically it's just a bit sort of pounded down, but like on a 2-show day, but the audience's reception and the warmth that we receive and how affecting the show seems to be to people always kind of lifts us right back up.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Pasek and Mr. Paul. Full-fledged musical.
Hey, Broadway Con, what's up? Justin and I met in college, but when I was in high school, there was a student. Oh, go Blue in college. Okay, go Blue. Okay, I love it. When I was in high school, there was a student at my school who passed away, and I wasn't really close to this kid, but I remember once the school community found out that he had died, a lot of people who had never known him began to mourn in a really public way. And I remember that I wanted to be a part of a tragedy that I wasn't a part of, and wanted to be connected to this kid after his death in a way that I didn't really earn a place to do so. And when I got to college and Justin and I started to write songs together, and eventually songs became musicals, we thought about what ideas we would want to explore, and you can talk about it.
Yeah, so this story was obviously really interesting, and I think at the same time, we grew up, 9/11 happened when we were in high school, and I think we also talked a lot about our generation, and maybe other generations too, having this need to, whenever something bad would happen, or there's a tragedy, now it's sort of as like a celebrity death or something big like that, there is sort of this natural sense that we all want to be part of it, whether now it's on social media. At that time, people were writing their college application essays about, how 9/11 changed my life, and whether that was completely true or not, there was this odd but sincere and deep need for people to try to connect over these moments and feel like they were part of a community. And so we thought during college we wanted to write a show that sort of touched on some of those themes, and I think we thought about it in a more sort of negative light, and as we started writing the show, we realized that wasn't going to be a musical, but we needed to explore a character who had that genuine need and was really feeling lost and isolated and lonely. And that all developed also as we started writing with the incredible Stephen Levinson, who wrote the book for the show. And we talked to Stephen about all these ideas, and we said, we want to write this and this and this and this, and we had a bunch of crazy themes, basically. And then Stephen was like, that all sounds great, that's a lot, let me process that. And also, let's think about the story and the character that all of this can sort of hinge on, and can, all these ideas can wrap around. And that's when we started working with Stephen on the show. And Stephen did a brilliant job. He's going to talk about how brilliant that is.
Stephen did show to play because you're sort of sandwiched between all of these people that are feeling all of these things. You got this one on one side, you got your brother on the other side, you got your parents in addition, and your school stuff and everything that's going on. That must be a lot as an actor to dig into, along with the beautiful music that you get to sing. would you, give us some insight into how you're dealing with your relationships in the show?
Yeah, I think what's really awesome is that my character is a victim of circumstance, but she doesn't ever allow herself to be a victim, and she kind of fights against it throughout the entire show. And she's, like everyone in the show, so incredibly imperfect, which makes it very exciting and fun and full of depth. And she's able to be a strong woman and a weak woman at the same time, which is really kind of special. I love it. I think that I've had so many people come up to me who have said things that they have had a complicated relationship with their brother or sister, and it was never resolved, and they feel like through watching this journey they've been able to, kind of what Jen said, forgive themselves and kind of see something positive come out of it, and know that not everything is perfect. Life isn't perfect, and I think the best thing about theater is that it teaches empathy, and I think that we kind of have that gift every night. So for me, it's very rewarding to feel like I'm telling this story of this girl who has just, really horrible things happen to her, but she doesn't allow it to define her and her happiness. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful, because you do have a sense of uplift from her at the end of the show. You.
And he's all black and he's got long hair, and you put him in a box, and that's what we do. And it's unfortunate, at times. And I think that's literally that's the world in which he lives in, is that people put him in a box, and so therefore he puts other people in a box, and that's his way of surviving. And that's why he keeps everyone at bay. And the minute he allows anyone to see who he is, then he loses. And that's why there's that scene with Evan where there's an attempt on both ends to reach out and communicate with one another, and they just can't because of who they are. They just simply cannot. And so there is that, misconception of Connor, and I don't mind it because then I get to do things like this and educate people,
But I wouldn't say he's a bad guy.
No,
at all.
Absolutely not.
I'd say he's lost.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And I sort of baited you for that as well, because because I think that, he, like the other characters in the show, is not actually bad. I think he's just lost, as you said, and terribly misunderstood. And one of the things that I've learned from some wonderful actors is that, if we think about it in life, not everyone is all bad or all good. They are a complete, complex combination of all of those things, and it's just what they're grappling with to come across. And I think that, again, so many people can relate to that character because maybe they know that character, but maybe they are that character. So, yeah, it's a job well done, and I know it's not an easy one.
No, but I think that's the great thing about the writing is that, all of these characters are that way, and I think in each of these people's flaws, we all have those same flaws, and that's beautiful. That's human.
I'll let Ben say it from his perspective too.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Well, we were holding auditions for Dogfight in 2012, I think, and we had a bunch of actors come in, and this fantastic young 17-year-old actor came in to audition for the role of Bernstein, and most of the actors that we had cast were older, but they were playing younger. So this fantastic actor who came in who actually was 17, but everybody that we had sort of cast was older playing younger. And he came in and he delivered this amazing interpretation of material and sang so beautifully. I think it was How Glory Goes. Yeah,
That is correct.
yes.
That's a bold
And
choice.
I remember being really blown away by this guy. And I think you probably, if there are actors here, which I imagine there are many, you probably hear often that you come in for an audition and you gotta give it that wonderful reading and really deliver the song. And if they don't choose you, maybe the creative team will remember, and you probably think that's complete BS, right? Many people are like, that's not real. But when Ben came in we were so blown away by his talent, and he was someone that we were like, we have to figure out a way to work with this guy in the future. And we sort of stored it in our memory banks. I remember reaching out to him on Facebook or something at the time, being like, you know, I don't know if this will work out right now, but you're someone that we really, really love and that we want to find a way to work with in the future. And so when Evan Hansen came around, he was the person immediately in our minds who we wanted to begin to work with on this material.
Dun dun dun!
Do you want to confirm or deny? That is precisely how things went down. That's just about it. I've loved Pascal Paul for a very long time. I sang their song "Like Breathing" from Edges for my senior solo night with my three best friends in high school, and I used to watch all the Edges videos every day, all day. And when I went in for Dogfight, I was incredibly nervous, and I wanted very much to make an impression on them. And so to receive that message on social media afterwards from Benj, saying sort of how much they appreciated my audition and things like that was a beautiful thing to receive. But you think as an actor, like, okay, sure, like that's very kind, but nothing will ever come of it. And so to actually hear, like a year or so down the line, that there was a reading I could come and do was, one of the most exciting moments of my life. And I had actually also been in for Michael for the Next to Normal tour when I was 16 or 17 as well. So it was a real lesson in sort of misconnections and sort of there's no bad time to make an impression, and no matter what the situation is, whether things are going to work out or not, if you can get in the room, get in the room, because you never know what's going to come of it.
I'm so glad you said that. Yes, applause, applause.
I thought Ben was really good too during that. I just want everyone to know that. But he was way too young.
No, this is my favorite part of the story. It seems to me that you have mined every single moment for its maximum layered potential, and you never stop moving. You've got the mannerisms, what you bring to the characterization from, futzing with your shoestrings, or some of the mannerisms and the gesturing, and even the inflection of your voice on some of your lines. Can you speak to developing your character of Evan to that degree? Because I think so many of us remark upon how nuanced it is.
Well, that's very kind. The first thing I'll say is that being able to develop it with all these people for almost 3 years was a huge part of that. I've never had the opportunity to work on something so in depth and in detail and through so many different stages, and so there was an incredible amount of opportunities to sort of grow and get more and more specific over time and to sort of find him one step at a time. A lot of the specific characterization came from Steven's writing, and he just so vividly creates this character in all the scenes in the book, and just sort of was an incredible jumping off point because it's just sort of creates a specific person in my mind. And I think as far as sort of the specificity of the characterization itself, I never wanted to isolate anyone from being able to connect to Evan or not be able to see some of themselves in him. And so, I'll get questions like, is it somebody on the spectrum? Is it a specific kid that you knew that you're sort of using in your mind? And my answer is that I've sort of taken pieces from all over, and from, some people that I remember in high school that were particularly difficult, had a particular difficulty connecting, or were particularly lonely, or but I never wanted to be too specific that you couldn't find something in him that you could relate to or that you could see yourself in. So I guess that's where it all came from.
It's truly incredible. It's really, and I applaud that element of the show too, that it's never really named. But
listen to / watch one number in the show, because that's the only one I'm not in. And I'm really glad about that, because it's Requiem, which is the song that Laura Dreyfus sings. And it's just incredibly gorgeous, and so if there are nights when it's taking the audience a little time to warm up, or I'm feeling a little bit fatigued or things like that, after the first 35 minutes or so when I get to go off stage and hear that song, it's just an incredible sort of empowerment, because it's equally beautiful every single night, and so I'm just really grateful for that.
And he watches every night. I see him watching every night.
It's lies.
that's beautiful, guys. Well, speaking of